Hey everyone, and welcome back to University 300. Long time no see. You'll be watching my lecture videos for the next 3 weeks before we switch back to Nicholas for the last bit of the course. So, here is what we'll be talking about this week. So we'll be covering and kind of reviewing the difference between multidisciplinary and subject-specific databases. We'll review some non-periodical databases, and I'll take you through a quick little demo of navigating WSU Vancouver library resources. And then we'll also touch base on how to evaluate databases and briefly talk about this week's assignment, which is a presentation. So moving on to databases. The WSU library subscribe to many different databases. Most, but not all, are considered periodical databases. Periodical databases index journals, magazines, and newspapers. Databases can either be subject-specific or multidisciplinary, like Nicholas went over last week. So this week we'll be diving into those subject-specific databases. And I have some examples here of multidisciplinary and subject-specific, just to kind of keep showing you guys what different databases look like. Because I know we talked about multidisciplinary, but there's so many out there that I want to really highlight some different ones. So Academic Search Complete is a multidisciplinary database that indexes journals from a wide range of subject areas, including literature, history, ethnic studies, computer science, engineering, physics, chemistry, and medical sciences. On the other hand, we have a subject-specific database, which is the American Mathematical Society, which is focused on a single subject area, mathematics. And then I have some other examples as well. So this is another example, again, of the difference between a multidisciplinary and subject-specific. CQ Researcher is another multidisciplinary database that is a collection of reports that provide in-depth coverage of political and social issues, including topics in health, international affairs, education, the environment, technology, and the U.S. economy. The two reports often showcase two conflicting viewpoints in an effort to avoid bias. On the other hand, we have Criminal Justice Abstracts, which is a subject-specific database that's an index to articles and publications in the field of criminal justice, including law enforcement, corrections, administration, drug enforcement, rehabilitation, family law, and industrial security. So, we do have access to some non-periodical databases. Some library databases provide access to other types of information besides periodicals, such as court cases, streaming videos, ebooks, market research reports, statistics, so on and so forth. Some examples of these are Canopy and Avon are multidisciplinary collections of streaming videos. Early English Books Online contains extensive collections of page-scanned versions of most books printed in English between 1473 and 1700. And then Nexus Uni includes U.S. court cases and laws, business profiles, and industry reports, as well as articles. These may or may not be helpful with your own research, but it's good to know about them, and some of these are considered go-to databases for primary sources in humanities. So at this point, you may be wondering, why does this matter to us? So understanding the content of each database will help you select the databases that are most useful to find information on your topic. Sticking to a database you've used before can end up limiting your results. Only using one database for a research project limits your choices, and only using one type of database also limits your choices. So it's important to know what's out there. So now we're to the point of our little kind of library database demo portion. So I'm going to go over where to find article databases by subject, an alphabetical list of databases, resources by subject, and then our library subject guides. So, I'm going to need this back in a second. Sorry. Okay, so this is our library homepage, and it's library.vancouver.wsu.edu. We've kind of shown this before, and at this point you're probably familiar with some of the links on here. So if we scroll down, we can see this like main heading of library where we have updates to services, COVID-19 information. So that's where we just kind of post breaking news, so to speak. We have our Ask Us on the right side of the page, and then we have our Find Books and Materials. However, when we scroll down, we have this Find Articles section. So the first link I'm going to show you is databases A to Z. So if you know what subject-specific database you want to look in, I would recommend just going straight to the A to Z. And it's an alphabetical list of the databases that we have access to with a description. So if you're not sure where to look, it might be useful to kind of browse through that A to Z list and see if anything would fit your topic. And then we also have article databases by subject. So if we open this link in a new tab, you can see that we have resources by subject. So article databases by subject and resources by subject mean the same thing here. And you can see we have links to pretty much every kind of academic discipline. So again, if you know what academic discipline you're going to be operating in, or what your topic is involved in, or what perspective you want to take on your topic, I'd recommend looking at these resources by subject. So let's say your topic, you want to look at it from a neuroscience perspective. If we just open the link of neuroscience, you can see it'll take us to these most useful databases. And you can see I'm the neuroscience librarian, so there's a very large photo of my face on here. Don't like that. So these resources by subject kind of lists are ranked by what we deem most useful and then also useful. So some of these are multidisciplinary, some of them are subject specific. It just depends on the topic. So that is the resources by subject. And you'll see there's a second link for all of these disciplines, and that's known as a guide. So let's say you are, your topic, you want to come at it from the perspective of creative media and digital culture. So if you click this guides, and I'll show you another way to get there as well, you can see it takes us to the research guides, or sometimes they're called research guides, sometimes they're called subject guides, and sometimes they're called lib guides. All mean the same thing. This was actually a bad example, so let's try human development. Okay, so if we click on human development, so this is the research guide for the discipline of human development. And you can see Karen, our library director, is this is her kind of area. So she has kind of tips and help, citation help, and then she has links to finding books and other materials, and then specific human development databases that she recommends. So we've talked about, just to go back to our slide, so we've gone over the article databases by subject, which is also the resources by subject. We've talked about the alphabetical list of databases, or database A to Z, and then library subject guides. And I'll have links to all of these pieces on the Canvas module. So just a really brief demo, not anything super in-depth. So now we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about evaluating a database. So it may be useful to ask yourself the following questions. Who is the intended audience for this information? Is it connected to a particular discipline, industry, or group of people? What types of materials are included? What is the source of the material? Is it a journal, a magazine? What is the time period, or what time period of publication does it cover? And are there any special features or options that may save you time while searching? This could be like a quick site. It could be showing you how many times something's been cited. You know, different databases have different features, so it's something to just kind of keep in mind. And then, again, it's always important to remember to use the Find It at WSU button to get the full text of an article. So moving on to this week's assignment, it is a database presentation. So you don't have to make a video of yourself. You'll see in the instructions for the assignment that you can make a PowerPoint slide, you can do like a poster. There's a lot of different options. It's pretty flexible, but it just wants to be kind of something presentation-esque. So you're going to post this database presentation in the class discussion board. So it's going to be posted in the class discussion board, not your personal research journals. And that's all you're going to have to do for this week. Next week, you'll have an assignment and you'll need to respond to 2 classmates' presentations. But for this week, you're just going to be focusing on completing the presentation and posting it. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. So I have some extra bits to kind of talk about. So we were supposed to have a synchronous kind of live class session on Zoom in week 5, but that was when we had that big ice snowstorm, so a lot of folks didn't have power, and it just would have been a little ridiculous to expect you all to come to a live synchronous session. So Nicholas and I chatted a bit, and we decided that instead of kind of rescheduling another synchronous session, we would instead offer 16 points of extra credit if you choose to attend one of our office hours until the end of the semester. So not many people saw this, but we did have an Easter egg in the syllabus where there's a bit like way down, if you read through it all, where you had to send us something, and if you did, we'd give you 16 points of extra credit. So this is just another extra credit opportunity. Most of you don't really need it, but if you're interested, please come to our office hours. They're made for you, they're designed for you, and it's a totally normal and expected part of college. And it doesn't have to be about the class specifically. If you have questions about just like academia in general, or the university, or being a librarian, or libraries, or whatever, please come to office hours. And of course, if you have a question about the course, of course that's welcome. And then another kind of thing, just so you're all aware of, is WSU Vancouver hosts an annual research showcase for undergraduate and graduate students. Usually it's in person, but of course this year it'll be held virtually from April 20th to the 23rd. And you are all welcome to present a poster of research, and you can submit your abstract by Monday, March 29th. So you still have about a month if you would like to present there. And of course I will have the link on the Canvas module. And then just one more thing, it's not on the slide, but I was going to offer a quick little survey during our synchronous class session. I would still really like to get your feedback. It's just an opportunity for you all to tell me if we can be doing anything better, or if you'd be interested to hear other things, or if you'd like to tweak some way that we present materials. So that'll be linked in the module as well. It's not mandatory, it's not for points, just if you'd like to give some feedback in a designated space, that's the perfect place to do so. And I think that is all we have for this week. So as always, please let Nicholas or I know if you have any questions. You can message us on Canvas or just email us, either is fine. And I will see you guys all next week. Bye!